Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Been playing some Star Wars Outlaws these last couple of days. Put a few hours into it. I realized that after I found myself having to, I had to force myself to play this game because it's just the gameplay is just boring. There is nothing here that would compel me to want to continue this and keep torturing myself by playing. And I tried to give this game, it, so just a little bit of, charity. Or, just want to go in with an open mind because, once the internet decides that a certain game is bad, then that just becomes the general consensus. And I try not to go into games feeling that way. I try to go in without any opinion swaying me left or right. But this is not a good game. And it's not a bad game either. It's just painfully mediocre. When you're playing the game, you can see what they were trying to do, but they never went any further than that. And I feel like that's the problem that most Ubisoft games have. They know how to reel you in with like the fantastic cinematic trailers, the set pieces, the open world environments. Most of them look really well done. But once you get to playing the game, you realize that it all just boils down to busy work. You clearing the map of its numerous question marks. Looking at you, Valhalla. Cannot believe that game took me 90 hours, somewhere around that, just to complete. And there were no side quests whatsoever, so I just played through story, and it took me 90 hours. And obviously, if it's 90 hours, most of that was just filler to make the game longer than what it needed to be. And here in Star Wars Outlaws, I could just see it starting to feel that way. The same way that I felt with Assassin's Creed, where all of this would just boil down to me just running back and forth between points, not really doing anything of substance, and everything will just become repetitive after a certain amount of time. I just feel like Ubisoft just keeps making the same game over and over again with no real intention of making anything special, just enough to bring people in so you can basically subscribe to their Ubisoft Plus subscription and then forget about it, and then they can make money on you for the next 6 months or years down the road without you even realizing that you're still paying. But it's not all bad. I do want to say that the environments in this game look phenomenal. They really know how to capture like the atmosphere of Star Wars, and they just know how to dial it in really well. And for those of you who played The Division, the first one, New York is like a staple in my mind as far as like fantastic. It's just a fantastic environment to play in. They really did a good job with the first Division, and the environmental artists are doing great on Star Wars Outlaws as well. It feels like Star Wars, like there's just smoke rising from the vents as you're moving through towns and cities, and you got bugs flying around, buzzing past your ear, and you see people working like in their own in their different corners of certain towns. It's just, you can hear like the bumble and bustle of crowds as you walk through, and the world just feels alive. I think they really did a good job with that. This is something that they've always done well, and the environmental artists deserve their flowers when it comes to stuff like this. There's another thing I wanted to note that I really liked in this game was I liked the way that you can earn abilities. You earn abilities by going to different experts and learning whatever they have to teach you. I like that. That's kind of an immersive way of getting skill points instead of, opening up a skill tree and going through about 300 of them just to increase critical hit chance by 2%. Yeah, this was a lot more substantive. I enjoy that a lot. But that was the only two things. Oh, third one. I liked being able to get into the ship with no loading screen, by the way. Get into the ship, you blast off, you maintain a lock behind the ship as you go through the clouds, so you're not really flying the ship itself, but you still feels like you're in control of the ship as it goes through the clouds and into space. Like there is no cutscene to take you out of the gameplay, which I like. I like games that keep me immersed as I play. The less menus that I can interact with in a game, the better. I feel like that's a way of pushing the hardware and making these games feel like they belong on the hardware that they've been put on, instead of constantly having to switch through menus. It's just irritating at some point. But those are the three notable things that I can remember that I liked about this game. But the core gameplay is just absolutely boring. For most of this game, you will be doing stealth because most of the missions require you. A lot of them require you not to be caught or not to raise any alarms. So you'll be doing a lot of crouched behind boxes, waiting for enemies to pass you, or you can use Nix to distract them. It's very easy to do this because once you use Nix to distract, the enemies are basically blind. You can basically walk around an enemy as Nix is distracting them and they won't even notice. The AI reacts strictly like a computer. It's nowhere near the level of what you would see on The Last of Us or anything like that. Nowhere near as technical as that. They behave like robots. They have their set pathway. They turn and look, and once their head is turned, they don't see anything behind them. As long as they don't even check behind them as they're walking a certain path at all. No, they don't feel human-like. They don't behave like humans. So yeah, that's to be expected. If you've played the recent Assassin's Creed, that's something that you can relate to. And I love good stealth in a game. Even if this game didn't have a good story, if it had great stealth and great equipment to use, I would still put at least 10 plus hours into it. Especially because I love the environments. I love going to different places in this game, seeing what they've done. But the core gameplay is just so boring. I lost all motivation to continue. Also, another thing I didn't like was you can't steal other weapons or vehicles. You're locked to your own vehicle, and you're locked to the weapon that the game gives you, which is a pistol, by the way. And the combat as far as like shooting, and it's so lackluster. Like the pistol has different firing modes, but they don't really, there's nothing different between them that would warrant using them. Like there aren't enemies that can only be taken down by like the plasma rounds. You can basically use just the standard blaster rounds the entire time and you'll be fine. Melee combat, the hits don't feel like they're making any impact whatsoever. I also think it's pretty ridiculous that when you're doing stealth takedowns, they just feel so slow and like rehearsed, almost as if the stormtrooper is helping Kay perform the takedown like you would see in wrestling. I just think it's just comical to see her hit a stormtrooper with just skin to helmet and just knock them out with like a couple of punches. I felt like at least you could have somehow worked it into the gameplay where she has to sneak past the stormtroopers for a little bit during the beginning of the game, and then later on you get like something like some shock gauntlets to put on that will knock stormtroopers out, or something that she can put around her knuckles to give it more impact, which would make more sense other than just using her bare hand. If she's using her bare hand, she has to be incredibly strong to knock some of these guys out. But that's just another thing that could have added layers to the gameplay and made the stealth a lot more. It just made the stealth a lot more fun, in my opinion. But like I said, Ubisoft games, they don't really take that extra step to create something compelling and unique and something that can be talked about for years down the road. Let's be honest, we'll forget about this in the next few months. This game is easily forgettable, and because of this game, I'm also concerned about Assassin's Creed Shadows, because that's coming out in a couple of months. Not really sure off the top of my head, but I know it's just around the corner. And if Shadows is just going to be the same as, Outlaws, just enough to get you interested, but not enough to keep you playing, I just don't, I don't understand. And honestly, Ubisoft's a little late when it comes to like the samurai in the feudal era of Japan. Like, there's already a better samurai game out. I've spent over 200 hours in that game. So if your combat is nowhere near as fun as Ghost of Tsushima, I'd rather just go play that instead. Like, I'm being generous by saying that this Assassin's Creed Shadows most likely will earn about a 6 out of 10, most likely from IGN. But I just have a feeling that it's just going to be painfully mediocre, just like this game. Just one small little thing that I did like, forgot to mention in the beginning, that I do like there are different ways of infiltrating bases. If you take the time to look around long enough, you will find a way to get into the base, and maybe you'll find like a pathway on the roof that will lead directly to the objective that you're looking for. But that type of that rewards like the player for taking the time to search for different routes. I do enjoy that. But other than that, painfully average. If I were to give it a score, if I'd played all the way through, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. I did see, I'm a big fan of Skill Up and Ralph and the work that he does over there. And I did see that he said after 15 to 20 hours, the story starts to ramp up towards the end. But let's be honest, if it takes 15 to 20 hours for me to start enjoying your game, then you've already lost me. I think it deserves to drop in score because of that, because you took so long to get to the point. And that also tells me that sometimes Ubisoft needs to cut away from the open world blueprint that they have for most of their games, and sometimes just give us a linear story that lasts for about 10 to 15 hours. We don't need these extraordinarily long games, and not every game that you make needs to be open world. It would be nice for them to just make a linear game for once. But yeah, 5 out of 10. This is easily forgettable. If you like Star Wars, just pick it up for Black Friday. Or like I said, or if you really can't wait, pay for Ubisoft Plus, because I think it's like $18. But I have a feeling that this game is going to go on sale pretty soon in the coming weeks. So if you be patient, you will be rewarded. I appreciate you guys for listening to me rant. I will catch you on the next video. Bye, guys.